Hi everyone! In this video we're going to be looking at the new release Slimline Stencils from Picket Fence Studios. In the September release there were 5 stencils released, and first of many. Each stencil, apart from this Slimline leaf stencil, is 10 inches long and 4 inches wide. This one is just shy of 4 inches and also just shy of 10 inches wide. So first, we should probably start with this one. This is the Slimline leaf stencil, and as you can see, it's just this beautiful leaf template pattern, basically. And you can do so many things with this. I have done a couple of cards with this using ink blending and a colored paste. The next stencil we have is it's called Slimline Dashes stencil, and as you can see, it's just full of really small dashes in a very random pattern. So with this you can either use it as rainfall or just to create pattern and color to your card. The next stencil we have is the Slimline Floral stencil. This is a super dramatic and beautiful, elegant one. So this I think you can use for all sorts of things, even from wedding, and just imagine doing this with white and gold paper glaze. That would look stunning. The next one we have is the Slimline Broken Fence stencil. This is like one of the other stencils in the collection, also called Broken Fence, but this one is obviously the Slimline one. The last stencil in the release is the Slimline Radial stencil. So you got the center here, and then it just goes out. You got sections here, so you can see. Right, so with that out of the way, we are going to look into some techniques to use these stencils in our card making. I think we're going to start with my favorite, which is the Slimline Dashes stencils. So I'm going to put these away for now, and I'm going to take my stencil and add a layer of pixie spray. This stuff is fantastic when you have detailed stencils like this one here, and also this one. It will make such a difference to your project if you get this crisp lines, especially when you're doing ink blending. So I will be right back. Because I'm planning on doing ink blending, I'm going to be using the Strathmore Bristol Vellum Surface cardstock. I've already cut out the a panel in the size that I need, and then after the pixie spray is cured, and you can tell by that the stencil is being tacky, we are going to push this down like so, and out comes our colors. So for this one I'm going to be using a very large array of Distress Oxide inks to create a very colorful background. Right. I'm going to be starting with my lightest color, which is Squeezed Lemonade. And I will be using the light-changing blender brushes from Picket Fence Studios. So we're going to grab our brush, rub it onto our ink pad, and then what I do is I tap off the excess here. And then we're going to gently but firmly go over the part where we want our ink. And you do this until you're happy. There we go. We're going to move on to our second color, which is Wild Honey. So I need to get my other one. Here we go. So now we're going to gently go across and outwards a little bit more. So each color is going to blend into each other, but everyone is going to have their own space on this stage. And the next color is Carved Pumpkin. This would be this color. I have this little sheet of acetate with some post-it tape, which is what I call my Inky Finger Savior. So I'm going to be placing that on top of this part here, so I don't mush my colors together too much. And also, when you do an ink blending, it's very, very easy to leave fingerprints, which is not very good for your project. As you can see, I'm holding my brush like this, and then I'm going back and forth to make sure I get in to all these small spaces, like so. The next color we're going to do is Abandoned Coral. And we're going to move our Inky Finger Savior up and just a little bit. With the colors that are a little bit more of a contrast from each other, it sometimes helps if you go back and forth with the two colors to get a really, really smooth look. This is more important if you're doing a ink blending like this piece here, for instance. With something like this, for a stencil, it's not such a big deal. We're going to move on to Picked Raspberry. We're moving on to the next color, which is by this time our sixth color, Filtered Violet. And again, we're moving our Inky Finger Savior. And here, because these two colors are really quite different from each other, we're going to go quite light-handed first with very little ink. And then we're going to go in with more to add that opaqueness and the depth. So you can see here, it's quite light to make sure we get a good blend. Now we're going to go in with a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more here. There we go. Right, so we're going to move on to our blues. And this one is Blueprint Sketch. again, first we're going to go in light, with a light touch, to get that blend. There we go. Now we can go in a little bit heavier. Right, our next color is going to be Salty Ocean. Because the difference between these colors is that this one is light and this one is darker, we can go in quite heavy right away without having to worry about harsh lines. Then we're going to move into peacock feathers. And again, with a light touch, we're going to blend the slightly light color with this darker color until we're very happy. Okay. We might actually only fit one more color here now, but we will do our best. Here we go. So this is Mowed Lawn. Okay, there's a tiny bit of space there left for our last color, which is Twisted Citron. Right, so with this last color, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting the ink on the edge here, and then I'm going to be dragging it into the Mowed Lawn because this one is so much lighter. So hopefully we're still going to be able to see that this is Twisted Citron and not kind of Twisted Lawn. Okay, let's have a look and see what's come out of this. So look at that, very nice and colorful, isn't it? And then, oops, we are going to take this off to reveal a very colorful background. Now, this ink that's left on here, we're not going to waste this. What we're going to do is a technique that I like to call ink smoosh print pattern. So what we're going to do is first clean up here a little bit, make some space, and then we're going to take a mister and we're going to spray on top of this quite generously. Let the ink activate, and then we're going to take another panel, piece of paper, gently put this on top. Try not to move it too much, and then we're going to firmly press down and quickly turn it over. Look at that, isn't that cool? So there you get two different kinds of backgrounds with one stenciling episode. So one very, very opaque, lots of colors, and then a really fabulous sort of watercolor look. So these are two of my favorite ways of using stencils. Next up, we're going to use the Slimline Broken Fence stencil. And I've already sprayed this with some pixie spray, so you can see it's nice and sticky. I'm going to put this straight onto another piece of Bristol Smooth. And we're just gonna put that down straight like that. And then because this is Picket Fence Studios, we of course have our fabulous, fabulous paper glazes. So of course we have to play with those. So because I'm only gonna be using a little bit of each, what you're going to want to do is make sure you have an old towel that you don't mind getting crusty, because this dries very, very fast. So we're going to work very quickly. First off, we're going to go with Daffodil Yellow. And just going to swirl this around a little bit. And we're going to go from top to bottom like this. But it doesn't have to be perfect, because we are going to blend in some of the colors to create another rainbow. Next color is Marigold Orange. And of course, with the paper glazes, you need to work very fast indeed, because this does dry very quickly. Leave that for later. And we're gonna go with Peony Pink. Swirl, oops, and from top to bottom in a very quick, oops, sweep like that. And this will dry as you leave it. So if you want to have a little bit of texture, you just dab it on like this. If you want to smooth, of course, you just go smooth like that. Actually, we're going to use a piece of kitchen towel instead. Next color, Agapanthus Purple. This is super vivid purple. It's an amazing color. This one is Cornflower Blue, and this is like an electric blue. It is absolutely incredible. Right, so we're going to try to make sure that this is not super straight. Maybe dab up there a little bit. There we go. Next up is Ocean Poppy. This one is a new color from September release called Jade Green. There we go. I probably could have added another few colors here, but also most slimline cards are not this full length. So this piece of cardstock is 9 inches wide. This one is called Leaf Green. I think we're going to reach for yet another color. This one is Fern Green, so a much darker, rich green, but it has like a gold undertone to it. It's a really cool color. There we go, gotta make sure we clean off our tools very quickly, and with no time to waste, we are going to reveal this panel. And look at that. And thanks to adding on this piece really thickly in places, you can see it's very textured. And this will dry very, very fast. So I'm gonna put this down and let it dry, and I'm gonna go and clean this. So actually, I just had a thought. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same kind of printing as we've done before. So we're gonna put this down. I'm gonna take another piece of cardstock, and so we're gonna just put that on top, press firmly. Of course, it doesn't matter on this side if you get some mess, and then we're going to pull this off into, ooh, pretty cool sort of jelly print style background. So on this panel, I thought we'd try something fun. So I've got the Slimline Leaf stencil out, and what I thought I'd do is place this over, of course, and we are going to heat emboss the entire thing in white. So the only things that are going to show up are the colors underneath here. So sort of like the veiny bits. So, right, we're going to just very generously dab a Versamark ink pad all over this. Make sure that we really get in there in those patterns. And also out on these bits here. Okay, I think that should do it. The good thing about a like Versamark ink is that it usually dries very slow, so you can actually pick your panel up and make sure that you have ink in all the spots where you want it. And then we're going to pull this off. And then we're going to add our white embossing powder all over this. And I have this huge tub of it because I use this so much. So this is gonna look pretty cool once it's heated. All right, I'm gonna do that off camera because that is very loud. So this actually turned out pretty cool. It's not perfect, unfortunately. However, not bad for a first try, and it did come out with a very, very cool look. So yeah, very happy with that experiment. Our next stencil is the Floral stencil, and on this one I am going to use Golden Rose paper glaze. Straight up, no fuss, no muss, just right in there. And when I work with the paper glaze, what I always put under, except when I did the other two of course, is a sheet of acetate, because it's so much easier to keep your work surface clean. And so we're going to give this a little stir, and then we're going to start from the top and just go all the way down with this. And we're just going to add a, I'm not going to say thin layer, because you do need quite a lot in order to make the sort of texture pop. But you can go as sort of thick as the stencil is without, you don't need more than that really. And you will still get a fantastic look. So you can see that blob that I started with, I managed to, by scraping up and down and making sure that I get in all the nooks and crannies here, I'm still working without, and I haven't had to get any more yet. Might actually make it almost all the way down. Here we go. Nearly there. Of course, if you want a more shabby chic look, you don't have to fill in the entire pattern. Just go in a little bit here and there, and it will still look fantastic, especially with the paper glazes, because they all have a bit of a sheen to them, so they really do make your project pop. Okay, there we go. Nothing else was needed on that one, so that's cool. Okay, then we're going to take this off and do the grand reveal. And oh wow, look at that. How elegant is that? So a little bit of a blob right there, but you can probably cover that up with a sentiment or something. So depending on which way you're gonna go, you could always put a sentiment strip there, or you can even trim this down a little bit. But yeah, so this is going to dry with that texture on it now. So we're gonna put that down, make sure we don't smudge it. For our last stencil, we're going to do some old-fashioned ink blending with the stress oxides and the life-changing blender brushes. But this one I'm going to do in a time lapse, so we can kind of skip forward a little bit. So hang in there, the video will soon start. Right, so there we have it. As you can see, it's very, very saturated, and you might have noticed me going back and forth with the previous color. And the reason I do that is to get a very, very smooth blend. But now it's best to do the reveal. So we're going to do this. Ooh, and look at, thanks to that pixie spray, those lines are so crisp and perfect. So that's one panel done, but it really seemed a shame to waste all the ink that was left on the stencil. So after a quick little cleanup session, whoops, we are getting a mister out and spraying lots and lots of water on that and letting the ink activate. Then with a panel of more Bristol smooth cardstock, we're pressing this down very firmly and picking up that ink. Look at that. We're coming to the end of this video. We're just gonna have one last little look at all the different stencils and some of the results of this playing session. As you can see, I've used quite a few different techniques, but there's many more out there for you to try. And I hope you will feel inspired to try a few for yourself. My name is Erica, and from all of us at Picket Fence Studios, thank you so much for watching.